2018. Guilty plea. Campaign chairman Paul Manafort, just about 1 month after he was found guilty on a number of counts by a jury of his peers. Finally, July 13, 2018, 12 Russians indicted for the hacking and stealing of Donald Trump's opponent's
Gentleman's
email.
time has expired.
Yield me 30 seconds.
I yield the gentleman an additional 30
The
seconds.
gentleman will be recognized for additional 30 seconds. Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the president.
Mr.
Gentleman's
Speaker,
recognized.
Special counsel is making progress, and the best thing we can do to uphold the rule of law in this country, to allow him to continue to investigate who attacked us, who worked with the Russians, and to make sure we know all we can do to protect this great democracy is to protect that investigation, to not allow the president to threaten it, and to do our job, protect our great democracy. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the opportunity for all the lawyers in the House on the Democratic side to come down and argue their case, but I would politely disagree with them. The way you save this great democracy is by making it economically sound and powerful and prepared so that we can pay for this government, so that we can understand that America's greatest days lie in our future, so that we can understand it is the American people that want and need to make success, that they want their dream to succeed, not just the government. And what we are hearing today is they've abdicated this debate today, all the way from what was an economic debate all the way to a political debate. And economics, you see, has that side of it where people can see what works and doesn't work. And that is why they have abdicated this fight today on the floor. The fight that they thought they were bringing is not about the success or failure of this. It is about another issue. Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is that America is economically stronger. We have more people working today than in the history of the country. There are companies that are making money, and there are employees that are making money, and there are employees that are successful. And when that happens, Mr. Speaker, you get an increase in take-home pay. And that is also what Republicans understand about what we have done. An increase in the amount of take-home pay to where the American people gain benefit, not just for their hard work, but for their families, to pay for their families, to be able to go to a Boy Scout outing, to make sure they're prepared to send their children to school so that they can pay themselves, not looking to the government to make the payment for them, not looking for a handout, but rather making sure that people have the dignity of work, the dignity of opportunity, an honest day's work, an honest day's pay, an opportunity for the free enterprise system, the American dream to work. And that's what we're talking about today. We are talking about the success and the limiting success. And the limiting success is if we make these tax policies permanent, it creates an opportunity for wiser choices, wiser decisions, wiser long-term attributes of success, not for the government, but for the American people. And that is what the debate is on this side, helping the middle class of this country to achieve a strong footing to where they can make their American dream work not only for them, but their children and grandchildren. I reserve my time.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect to my colleague from Texas, tax cuts for the rich and big corporations aren't going to protect this country from another attack by the Russians on our elections and on democracy. But here's the deal. You can do both. You can debate your tax scam 201, 2.0 for the rich. And if you vote to defeat the previous question, we can also vote to protect the Mueller investigation. So we can do both. And I hope my colleagues will vote to defeat the previous question. With that, I yield 1.5 minutes to the gentlewoman from California, a distinguished member of the House Rules Committee, Ms. Torres.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, the GOP tax scam has been nothing but a giveaway to millionaires and corporations. This Republican majority is adding trillions of dollars to our national debt that our children and grandchildren will have to pay for years to come. Trillions in debt that will put Medicare and Social Security at risk. Already, we can't provide the minimum funding to the ACA, making it harder for our constituents to get health insurance and access to care. Now, how are the Republicans trying to pay for this debt? By attacking the hardworking taxpayers like those that I represent in the great state of California. That's right. So millionaires and corporations can have a tax break. I call that welfare for the most affluent people and corporations in America. At the cost of the hardworking taxpayers in California. And let me say that again. Millions of Californians will see their taxes increase with this GOP tax scam. Now, today, as if we haven't already done enough, the Republican majority is voting to make this tax increase permanent. A permanent tax increase to our hard-working taxpayers. California is the 5th largest global economy.
Generally, an additional 30 seconds.
California is the 5th largest global economy and a donor state. We should be trying to make every other state more like the great state of California. And I yield back.
Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the frailty of the arguments from my opponents is staggering. The newest report out, the ACA healthcare market stabilized nationwide for most customers, and yet we're told we're not even funding it. It is funded by the government. It's mandatory spending. But the good part is that they now have an idea of who is in the marketplace and what those correct rates are, and it's stabilizing. It's stabilizing because what we have done is made the opportunity available for people to have a job to pay for their health care. And the ability to have a job means that you not only have a chance to pay for your car, your home or apartment, your daughter or your son's college, but you also have an opportunity to pay for your own insurance, your own health care, your own needs to take care of your own family. And this is where we see America right now has the largest number of people who are employed in America. Every single economic and social indicator indicates that more people at the highest level are employed. More people at the highest level are having an opportunity to get up and go to work, a chance to make their lives and their family better. This is the essence of what we're talking about today, making life better for people, giving them a better opportunity back home to have a job that's available. In Dallas, Texas, where I'm from, last week, 2 weeks ago, we had a seminar whereby people talked about and demonstrated what this economy is doing. And I had several employers who stood up and said to the media, that was never reported, we have 10 jobs that are available at starting salary of $60,000. But you have to be able to pass a drug test and you have to come to work every day. We'll train you. We will do the training. We don't need the government or someone else to do that, but you have to do two things. You have to be able to pass a drug test, and you got to come to work every day. And you've got to be able to go be willing to be a part of a team that is about your success and theirs also. What a great deal the Free Enterprise offers today. Instead of us begging for jobs and wishing they were here, they abound, Mr. Speaker. It's called great economics. It's called making America great again. And that's why we want to make it permanent. I reserve my time.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts recognized.
Mr. Speaker, if I can inquire the gentleman from Texas, how many more speakers he has on his side?
Thank you very much. One.
Okay. I just kind of figured if this was so popular that there'd be tons of Republicans down here. But I'll yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Wisconsin, Ms. Moore.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and hallelujah! Let the Republican majority tell it. The American people are just going to be so thrilled with Tax Scam 2.0, where we permanently lock in obscene tax advantages for corporations and the wealthy, where we lock in inequality, where we directly threaten Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Now, Mr. Speaker, the American people are just going to be bereft of this economic security and retirement security, but they're going to spontaneously break out in Depression-era George Gershwin opera, like I did on the stage of North Division High School. I got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me. I got no car, got no misery. Meanwhile, the folks with plenty of plenty are getting 80% of this tax cut, increasing the debt by another $3 trillion in just 3 years' time. Mr. Speaker, no singing, no dancing, no tax scam. My constituents want our country's wealth back, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. There's a lot of song and dance on the floor, but it's revisionist history. Is that the African American unemployment during President Obama's presidency was 15.5%. It was called misery. It was called no job. It was called unemployment. It was called more government assistance. It was called, unfortunately, demise. Mr. Speaker, what we have done by passing the tax cut is to make sure that employers had an opportunity to hire employees. All across this country, there's a marketplace available of people who were ready and willing to come to work, and they have. The figures are, to us as Republican, normal and regular. We were told by President Obama and Mrs. Pelosi, we can't get the 4.2% GDP rate. That's right, you can't get the 4.2 because your policies and procedures won't let the country do that. We're going to be stuck in the ones. But Mr. Speaker, what happened is that a new energy abounded in this country, and it's called optimism and opportunity and success and redevelopment of ideas to bring the American spirit back to the top. And that was instead of Uncle Sam telling us what to do, we're getting that opportunity to have the success back home. And that's why the largest number of African Americans ever in the marketplace are there too. The largest number of women, the largest number of Hispanics in the marketplace today. This is yet another reason, Mr. Speaker, why Republicans are on the floor talking about the economy and my friends are talking about another issue. Mr. Speaker, we need to be very clear about this. I will be asking all 435 members of Congress for them to see the reality and the truth of what is available back home, and that is opportunity can abound for a longer period of time with more success, more opportunity, the next chance to make sure that the contract that is won by their company or the next successful quarter or the next opportunity that they get to get a pay raise can come because we are making sure that the free enterprise system is sound and secure for the future. And that is how you save Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, by working today and protecting American jobs. It is a effort that the Republican Party has had, will have, has today, and we can't wait to see the vote to see who's for the free enterprise system of seeing that success. I reserve my time.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Kentucky, the distinguished ranking member of the Committee on the Budget, Mr. Yarmouth.
Gentleman is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Just 8 months ago, the Republicans jammed through their massive unpaid-for tax cut. Not a single Democrat voted for that bill, and for good reason. Nonpartisan experts told us that the tax cut would overwhelmingly benefit the wealthy and big corporations while threatening our fiscal and economic health, that it would add more than $1 trillion to the nation's debt. And the newest reports on the impact of the tax law further confirm those dire warnings. Corporate profits have soared, along with stock buybacks, while working class wages remain stagnant and income and wealth inequality continue to grow. Yet today, Republicans want to go even further, pushing their Tax Cut 2.0 legislation. It's not a surprise that they are extending the provisions of their tax bill. The expirations were always gimmicks to hide the true costs of the tax cut and evade the constraints on reconciliation bills. This new legislation once again benefits the wealthiest Americans and adds trillions of dollars more to the nation's debt in decades to come, further jeopardizing the nation's already rocky long-term fiscal outlook. This new Tax Cut 2.0 package, just like the one before it, is being rushed through the House with no hearings and no input from the American people. The Republican Tax Cut 2.0 legislation is another irresponsible tax cut for the wealthy that threatens our long-term fiscal and economic health, and we know how that story ends. As Republicans have often demonstrated, they are committed to cutting taxes, more for the rich, fretting when deficits rise, and then attacking crucial programs American families rely on, such as Medicare and Social Security, to pay for the debt increase. Let's not add more to this three-step process. This is not the time to rush through another round of tax cuts. The rule before us would allow for passage of this irresponsible legislation, and I urge my colleagues to oppose the rule. I yield back.
Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the American dream should be available to everybody. Young, old, African American, Hispanic, Native American, even those people who have come to our shores. To make America work, American business has to work. To make American business work, which is why we have business schools, why we have college-educated people, why we have entrepreneurship, why we have small business owners, why we have people who dedicate themselves to that free enterprise system, comes about as a result of their opportunity to work within a series of rules, regulations, and tax policy that is balanced. A balanced tax policy would tell you that if you have the highest taxes in the marketplace, your opportunity levels diminish. Likewise, it would say and tell you that if you do not pay an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, you would not have employees and would be searching to try and make up that deficit another way. Today, American business and American workers have more work than we can get done in one day. And numbers of orders and opportunities for our future abound. That is what we are here about also. We are here about the youngest of people that we have in our midst who are in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade. We're about those people who are in college who are studying hard because they want to be a part of a workforce. They want to be a part of making their dream better. But if there are no jobs, that is an indictment on this body. That is an indictment of elected officials and of an administration, many of them unelected, but who have a policy that fits their political ideology rather than what is intended, the success of people back home. Today, I'm going to ask every member of this body, and I'll do it right now, to please understand that you will have an opportunity to vote to make what we have today even more successful for a longer period of time, and to grow the amount of GDP, to grow the amount of investment, to believe in the American worker, to expect the opportunity for there to be an equal marketplace share where the employer and the employee can both gain, not only in the ability to pay their own bills, but the ability to sustain what we do. Mr. Speaker, let's not show the short side of this and talk about the negatives or the frailties or the things that really I don't think will come to bear. But let's talk about the success. And the success is we are going to move our stock market as it's doing today with the evidence that they have that we can, as a body, move our business. Just this week, we had an opportunity to do what hadn't been done for 21 years. Those pesky Republicans in the House and the Senate and our president are going to sign a bill funding about 80% of the government to avoid not just a continuing resolution, but to get it done on time, expecting this government in their balance to do their job that we have entrusted them with. And today, we're taking part on the other part of that equation to the free enterprise system, saying, keep producing jobs. Keep doing the things that small business does, whether you're in Weatherford, Texas, and own a car dealership and you sell your product and make it available to customers back home and you expect them to pay and your product to sell and win, or whether we expect to produce products that we sell overseas. Mr. Speaker, it's the other half of the equation. This same week that we gave 80% of the government, including the military and health and human services, the things which they have asked for and need to produce, today we're asking the other side of the equation, the American people, continue fighting, continue working, continue believing not only in your American dream, but continue to believe that the future of this country is bright and going to be successful for you and your family. They can drown out the detractors. They can drown out people who brought a different idea to the table, because that brought us 15% unemployment for African Americans when we had a president who claims he was there for equality also. Equality is a job and an opportunity. I reserve my time.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cohen.
Time granted.
Thank you, sir. I'm here to urge this House to defeat the previous question so that we can